All right. Hello, fans. I can start whenever I want to, and I got the cue. I am here with one of the most charismatic, most intelligent minds, most creative minds in the history of professional wrestling, and I think a lot of people would echo those sentiments. Raven,
How
thanks
you
for
doing?
being here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you. We were just talking off camera before we got to start, and we were talking about this current state of professional wrestling and how it's viewed. Why do you think there's such a disconnect in the current world of professional wrestling to fans like us who remember the glory days, if you will?
It's changed the way I think a lot of it has to do with the audience's perception of it, and I mean among other things. There's a lot of factors, but one of them is that the audiences were more, not that they believed that it was real before, but they were willing to suspend disbelief more, and it was more of a drama than an athletic contest. And now it's becoming more of an athletic contest. Not that it wasn't always extremely athletically based, but it was a soap opera, it was a drama, and you were reeled in by the characters and the storylines, and they tugged at your heartstrings, which is what ECW did so well. You know, we
Right.
told stories like that. But I don't follow it now, so I mean, I kind of keep a cursory update on what goes on because it is what I do. So I kind of want to know what's going on, but I really don't. I haven't watched wrestling, like I haven't watched an episode of Raw since 2000, I don't think. And
Wow.
yeah, it's sad because I loved the wrestling business. I mean, I loved it. I adored it. I wanted to be in it, and I just don't have that same love for it to watch it anymore.
Do you think it's too scripted?
Yeah, yeah. It's people aren't allowed. I mean, I guess I can't. I want to comment on the current situation, but I don't know because I only hear.
Right.
You know, I got a couple guys that send me what happens during the week, and then Busby will tell me like so we can talk about it on the podcast.
Right.
But so I don't really know, but I would gather that that it's because it all boils down to characters and storylines. Those are the only two things. And it's funny when the Monday Night Wars were big, TNT used to have for one of their ads was "We do drama," and USA, which had Raw, had their catchphrase was "We do characters." Which really, and not that they were advertising wrestling on either one of them, but that's what wrestling business is: drama. It's storylines and characters,
Right.
stories and characters.
So, taking off from that, so the current situation, what brought you? Was it the drama, or was it the athletic competition, or
The
a mixture
drama,
of both?
the drama.
So, was it your creative outlet to draw you into professional wrestling? Is that what brought you there to allow you to be creative?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I don't know if I realized it at the time. I knew I wanted to do it. I don't think I really. Unfortunately, I'm not for all my supposed being intelligent, or however intelligent I used to be before I killed all the brain cells.
Right.
The I'm not a deep thinker. Like I don't sit there and think about things. If I'm sitting there by myself, instead of thinking, I'd rather watch TV or read a book or something. I'd rather see other people's thoughts, and so I don't think I ever really sat down and thought about it. Why do I want to do this? I just knew I wanted to do it, and I think it speaks to a character flaw of mine that that I want something, so I go do it without thinking of the consequences, and I constantly alienated people and places and things because I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, and very selfishly, and yeah. I was a dick.
Where do you where do you think that reputation comes from? Obviously, like you claim you never were really that intelligent, but with all that your
Well,
peers.
I don't want to claim I was never intelligent. I was very bright, but I'm saying I don't think I'm as bright now as I was.
Okay, because your peers, I mean, your peers talk to you in high regards when it comes to your creativity and your intellect for the business and things along those lines. Did that come naturally?
Yeah, that I was never a great athlete, but I was lucky to be born with good genetics as far as in the brain category.
Right.
Which I did my damnedest to try and kill,
Right.
but
Right.
with drugs and chair shots. But yeah, no, yeah, creativity was always easy for me. I mean, athleticism, I knew how to look good being an athlete. Like I could, if I was chasing a fly ball, I looked very athletic chasing it. I may drop the ball, but I looked athletic chasing it.
Right.
Because I knew how to. I always studied human behavior, and so I saw how people moved and made my body move the same way. But whether you have the athleticism or not, it's a whole different matter. AJ Styles is an unbelievable athlete. I mean, he's just a naturally athletic guy. But then you look at other people who aren't. But wrestling, you don't have to be a great athlete. You really don't. I mean, that's honestly one of the least important characteristics, because if you know how to tell a story, because it's what wrestlers are storytellers.
Right.
At its core, at its best, we're storytellers.
So going back, I'm not instead of getting into your early days. When did you first get wind of ECW? When did that first become on your radar? When it started to make waves and it caught your interest?
I'd left WWE or F or whatever it was at the time, because they had made me. First, they made me a manager, which I didn't want to be, but I thought maybe I could be a manager, because of my size, because I was too small.
Right.
Because it was the land of the giants when I started. Everybody was 270 or better. And I'm only 6 foot tall, so I didn't have the height to go, So I was 6 foot, 220, which now is pretty good size, But, of course, back then it was small, very small. And and they made me a manager, but I still wanted to stay in the business, so I took the gig. And then they made me an associate producer of Raw, and they were grooming me for the booking committee. And then they finally took me off TV because Vince pulled me aside and he said, "You're not really Johnny Polo. There's a disconnect because you're not really that character." I go, "I didn't think I was."
Who came up with that?
They did. Yeah,
Okay.
they did. But I was like, my speech pattern is so not Greenwich, Connecticut.
Right.
My look isn't, and so they eventually that shone through, and so they pulled me off camera to just work on producing and stuff. But I didn't get in the business to be a producer. I had no interest in it whatsoever. So I quit, and then I talked to Cornette. I created this character, the Raven character, and I talked to Cornette. And he was going to bring me in, and every month, like he said, I'll bring you in September, then October, then November. And in the meantime, I moved from Connecticut back to Philadelphia, because that's like a great hub for indies, because you can go to New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, you can go to Baltimore,
right.
West Virginia. It's driving distance. It's probably the most central place. And I was born in Philadelphia, so I love it. So I didn't even think of watching ECW, because all I heard was, and this is what, don't judge a book by its cover. All I heard, it's garbage wrestling. It's garbage wrestling. So I never thought to watch it. And then one day I did watch an episode. It was the most unbelievable. It was a cathartic experience.
What was the first thing you saw?
I don't remember, honestly. I just remember watching the show going, I have to be on this show.
Was it the vibe? Was it the crowd? Was it just the feel of the production, or was it the wrestlers?
I think it was a large part of it was without me realizing it at the time, was how it was produced. It was produced for maximum visceral,
Right.
I mean, so that you just feel it in your gut. You feel it emotionally, which is how you're supposed to feel wrestling. It's supposed to be an emotional thing. On a sidebar, when guys are in a match and they're chanting, "Let's go this guy, let's go that guy." Okay, that's great. It means you're over. But to me, there's a whole nother level of over where they're so into you emotionally that they're going, kick his ass, kick his ass, kick his ass, or either get your ass kicked or kick his ass. Either way, whether they're rooting for the heel to get beat up or rooting for the babyface to beat up the heel. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's not. It's different. But that emotional level is so much different than let's go so-and-so, let's go so-and-so, because that right away means that they're looking at it more as something that they want to be involved in, the audience that is, and it's more of an athletic contest as opposed to an emotional where you're rooting, where you're caring about these individuals. you know, because you can only care so deeply for them if you're going, let's go so and so, let's go so and so, and you're engaged in that. And don't get me wrong, it's better to get, it's way better to get that than almost anything else. But there's another level above it, which is how fans used to react to it. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, which is
Right.
how fans used to react on an emotional, visceral level. And so when I saw the show, it was just like, wow! It was just like, I was like, I got to be on that. So I made steps to do that.
From a personal level and even a financial level, were you worried about walking away from WWF at the time?
No, I never cared for money. I always played for love of the game. I figured money will come with, if I'm as successful as I feel I have the ability to be, then money will follow the success. But I played for love of the game.